Welcome back to the Fate of Daya. This is episode... Well, I won't say what episode it is. This is session 6 for us. We have, in real life, taken a bit of a break. But for you listening at home, it's been, 2 weeks. So you won't have noticed anything.
6 months later.
But behind the scenes, we are scrambling. I won't insult or compliment anyone because, frankly, no one deserves anything right now. But I will first say hello and welcome my lovely... Well, no, just my... Scratch that, edit that out, Kier. I will welcome the person who is my co-DM, Kier. Hello.
Hey, Dylan, my co-DM as well. It's nice to co-DM with you, and that entirely professional way without any emotional connection.
Our working relationship is satisfactory. Yes.
At the required standard.
Yes. Well, let's not go that far. Cameron, how are you?
Anyone thinking it was a mistake to come back?
Gemma, what's the crack? How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. I'm doing really well. Happy to be back.
Yeah. God, it's been so long. But it's so nice to see everyone's face again. Apart from this person, Jack. I'm going to go all in on you, Jack. Sorry.
No. Bring it. Come on. Right.
You're not a nice person.
I mean, hey, listen. I own that. I am who I am. The atrocities I have committed stink in the noses of the gods, and my soul is caked in sin. What am I going to do?
and that's not even your character. That's just you.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
I am just that's self-promotion. And if you want more sin that stinks in the noses of the gods, whatever that means, come. Subscribe to my Patreon that I don't have. Set me up a Patreon and then subscribe to the Patreon. There we go.
Yes.
You're all culpable now.
Hey, if I get a cut of that sweet Patreon money, I'll be okay. I'll commit sins if it gives me a small amount of monetary gain. Is that not how the world works?
$1.27 a month. Yeah, there we go.
Kier, let's hand it over to you for a recap. And if you could please make it as comprehensive as possible, that would be great, as we are all desperately in need.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. Welcome back to our table and welcome back to our story. Last time on the Fate of Daya. In Daya's shadowed sprawl, where lanterns flicker faint, the city whispered in weary dirge, a hymn of haunted stone. Vash, the wretched, bled beneath the weight of war, a century's sorrow etched in broken battlements. 3 figures, fragile against the flood of fate. Swifty, the crazed loon, a self-made street paladin, face hidden by a visor, wielding a makeshift maul. Jorvin, lord turned beggar, roguish and resolute, a refugee of West Canton, bow and rapier in hand. Salryn, ex-mercenary, a guardsman now, her twin short swords swift as summer storms. As the invaders' ships drew near the shore, the trio ventured forth to meet the tide. Swifty's maul crushed armour like brittle bone. Jorvin's arrows sang sharp through the salted air, and Salryn's blades a whirlwind of fury. Together they pushed back the encroaching storm. Victory fleeting, for shadows lay within. 'Twas a feint, a ruse to mask the true strike. Within Daya's heart, insurgents set fires, collapsed defences and razed grain stores. The trio raced back through the smouldering streets, each torn by duty, drawn by separate paths. Swifty sought the Barrel Boys, his street-bound kin, shielding them from ruin in the temple's depths. Jorvin turned to his warehouse, safeguarding his trade, where shadows and steel sought to end his fight. Salryn rallied the sun and moon shield once more, her voice a beacon to quell the insurgent tide. Below, in the city's gut, Swifty descended, through tunnels of trembling stone and shadow's breath. Hector led, his voice like a tether in the dark, to an orb's pale gleam, a prisoner encased. Swifty's hand met the glass, light splintered, wrath unleashed. The shrouded figure, a cipher, etched scars in his mind, fragments lingering like frost on forgotten fields. Emerging from the shadow, Swifty sought Jorvin's side, where Rowena, bound by fate and wiles, lay stricken. The warehouse held its breath as blades clashed. Shadows writhed and assassins slipped like serpents. Death's dance closed in, but Jorvin stood defiant, each swing of steel bearing the weight of his soul. Together they traced Alaric's tainted path to his house of horrors where foul truths dwelled. Books bore the ink of sacrificial rites, dark rituals whispered to gods long forgotten. With grim resolve, they gathered their proof and turned their steps towards Vita's solemn hall. At the palace gates, Salryn awaited, her resolve a shield against the rising storm. Within the shadowed sanctum, dread hung thick. Vita's lifeless form, a beacon of betrayal, and Alaric, alone, cloaked in dark resolve. Together they fought, their fury as one, blades flashing in the suffocating gloom. Alaric struck hard, but unity prevailed. Swifty's maul shattered bone, Jorvin's arrow found flesh, and Salryn's twin blades carved a path through shadows, each blow a hymn to defiance and fate. Alaric fell, his schemes undone, though the scars of battle lingered deep. Swifty, weary from his wounds and battle's weight, returned to the temple, where shadows lay deep. The barrel boys huddled, their fears held close. And Delicate Hammer, the man from the orb, appeared. He spoke in whispers that split the silence. The Marid's blood courses in your veins. Healing hands wove through forbidden threads, binding flesh, yet unravelling laws long held. All the while, Vita's corpse lay cold, her city's soul adrift.
Jorvin, you're a young lad. You're maybe only 12 years old. And you're with your father. And you are getting ready to go out, as is your father's want and custom now that you're beginning to grow up and become a young man, to bring you hunting. But more specifically, maybe someone would call it poaching. And you see that you're in this room and he's kind of gathering all of these clothes out. And he's like, "Now, Jorvin, as I've always told you, you always pick the right outfit for the right occasion. Dresses and suits are for balls, but leathers and dark clothes for hunting." And he starts helping you tie some kind of repurpose fatigues and stuff like that, to help move silently and smoothly through underbrush and forest. This is maybe your first time going hunting with your dad. You know that this is something that he does occasionally, but this is your first time being brought along. What's going through Jorvin's mind?
I think Jorvin feels like he's becoming a man, almost in some way. This is like a rite of passage in the Ghast family. He's reached this age and he's going to learn the trade. Well, not trade, I suppose, but he's going to learn how to basically get your own clothes. He knows that when Dad comes back, there's always some fantastic bit of fur or some skin that can be sort of, turned into leather. So he is like a kid in a candy shop right now.
In the past, maybe you and your dad have, he's gone through the method of how to skin carcasses and how to turn that into leather and how that could be fashioned into a sturdy pair of boots. In the oppressive rule of, the Mad Caboodler, this is the one thing that kind of he has solace in, something that he has control over. And this kind of, you're maybe getting a little bit older and you understand that this is his way of eking back his own bit of control into his life. You finish getting ready and you leave your manor and you start walking along. And you're walking towards what you know is a large forest nearby called the Fuirish Vor. As you're walking along, could you please give me a perception check?
13.
With 13, you know, you've probably... This is maybe the furthest out of your manor you've been, not in a carriage or something like that, where you're kind of just walking along. You're not in finery. You're not in a noble's doublet at the moment. You are in, you know, hunters and trappers' clothes. And you're kind of walking nothing but the ground beneath the leather soles of your feet as you're walking down this road towards where your father is guiding you, an old hunter's trail into the forest. And a little bit further down the road, just ahead of you, in the direction that you're going, you see quite a gruesome sight. You see a man, a member of the Ulos tribe, a dark-skinned, half-Nyx person, currently being crucified at the side of the road.
Father, what are they doing to him?
Yes, Jorvin, well, come on, best not to interfere. This is not our...
They're going to kill him, though, Father.
This is not our fight.
Surely, we must do something.
He's barely even meeting your eyes at this point. He's kind of like, he walks a little bit faster ahead of you, his eyes kind of pointing down towards the ground. Jorvin, there's things about this world you need to understand. This forest that we're going to, you know all the rumors that are said about here, that there's fantastical beasts, there's rumors of the Fountain of Youth and all sorts of wild nonsense all these people believe, but this is the reality. And he finally kind of looks up and looks at this person. I won't stop you if you want to help him, but it's not... Trying to help in this situation is as futile as believing in these fantasies.
I think Jorvin will probably sort of quite dejectedly sort of almost like hide kind of behind his father, like at his heel, kind of just fall in behind. Yes, Father.
And as you continue walking, this man, half dying, it begins calling out to you. Barely able to breathe, voice cracked and parched, like sunburnt. Oh, please. What's going through Jorvin's mind at this point as he's kind of like...
I think his heart's probably in his throat to some kind of level. I think he's terrified by this, but there's a certain compulsion to do something. I think Jorvin would know that his family are kind of, well, noble, so he would feel like he has some kind of responsibility. And I think he'll sort of probably tug at his father's like sleeve, like, he's calling to us. He needs our help.
And your father looks down to you and says, fine, but yeah, fine. And you see that like kind of all the hope and the light in your father's eyes is like diminished. But you go down and you help this man down. He's grievously wounded, but he might yet live. Your father kind of gives him some water from a skin that he's brought. This Ulos man kind of like, you know, barely able to speak. His voice is so cracked. Kind of just sits down, dejected. Kind of points down the way. He says, more. All families. Sits there kind of unable to like summon the strength to even move or walk or crawl even towards them. Your father gives him a little bit of some trail rations. Come on, Jorvin, we've taken him down. He might live, but we can't tarry here. If the warlord's men see us, well, we shouldn't be out here as it is. This is supposed to be time for me and you.
Okay, Father. Thank you for doing this, though.
The two of you walk along. Just as you reach this old trapper's trail into the forest, into on Furish 4. Your eyes again kind of see further down to what was like an interim settlement. You know that these Ulos are like a nomadic people. They travel a lot. At this point, give me a history check, please.
16.
You've heard of these people and you've heard of the persecution that they faced, particularly at the hands of your local warlord, the Mad Kabooter, who has decided to persecute them under the fear that they are spies, and that the reason that they are traveling so much is to peddle information and to tell his secrets to the world. And so he has given a order of just pure wanton destruction. And as you see further down to the settlement, you see dozens, scores of bodies, some crucified, some just lying on the ground, much more than you could help. And your father kind of looks at you and says, it's all well and good to help one person, but what can we do against all of this? Jorvin, we can't save them. I see that look in your eyes.
I just wish that things were different, Father. I wish that we still had the influence and we could do something for these people.
Perhaps someday, but who knows? Come, and silent now when we get into the forest. And you see he kind of like he steals up, and he puts a mask of a emotionless state over him, and he walks in and he like slings a bow from his shoulder and he hands it to you, and he takes one out for himself. You still remember how to string a bow, I'm sure.
It's not the sort of thing you forget, Father. I practice hard.
Yes, you have, and you've been good at it. You and your father go and start hunting. Give me a survival check or a stealth check, your choice.
13, and that was a stealth check.
With a 13, you're going quite well. Your father is kind of like helping you out, and he's like taking the lead, and he's kind of like pointing out where there are dry leaves or twigs and things like that on the ground that might alert your prey. But you come across a small deer, and your father kind of helps you, guides you through it, and you're able to take this down. What's kind of Jorvin's thoughts as he's kind of completed this first successful hunt with his father?
Yeah, I think Jorvin's got that excitement, that he's managed to get this, and he's managed to do this, and he's made his father proud. But there is that kind of still that bit of disgust at himself for having still taken the life of something, and sort of twinged with this guilt. But at the same time, he sees how happy his father seems in him, and in that sense, he thinks, well, I could maybe over time get used to this.
Yeah, give me an insight check, please.
16.
You see your father kind of, as he helps guide the bow and you let the arrow fly, he kind of gives you a big clap on the back. He's like, my boy, well done, well done. This is, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. But you, with a 16 insight, you're kind of seeing through the cracks, and like he is incredibly proud of you, he's placing so much into you. You're getting a feeling that like the fact that you are succeeding means more to him than anything. Go on, let's head home. Let's get dressed up. Let's have the finest feast we can imagine. And today is a good day. Let's focus on what has been great about today. You remember, Jorvin, when things get tough, you focus on the task at hand. You dress sharp, and you'll make it through.
Thank you, Father.
I'm proud of you.
I'm so happy. I wish that we could do this all the time.
Me too, and there'll be many more chances. Many more.
I look forward to it, Father. Thank you.
You go back, you bring this carcass home, you skin it, you get ready, you're getting dressed again, and kind of before dinner is properly served, your father gets a letter, an invitation, and he says, well, it looks like our lord has invited me and some of the other nobles around for a feast. It seems that he has requested me immediately, so I must go. Remember, Jorvin, it is the clothes that maketh the man, and the right effort for the right occasion. You understand? And at this point, he goes and he changes his tie, and he gets out like a nice like silken cravat, and starts like wearing it. He gets out like his best waistcoat and stuff. Jorvin, I want you. You're the man of the house for tonight. You're to carve the meat. You're to make sure everyone is fed. Make sure everyone is taken care of. This is your job.
Okay, Father, but be careful. I heard the stories of that man.
Yes, and you see that he like kind of shudders away a memory, and you know that there's like stories of him having fed people oil just to see if they're more flammable, and like trying to light them on fire. Just horrific, just needless, senseless acts of violence. And you go put a brave face on and go for food, rest of your family. Salryn, Jorvin, you are both in Vita's office. Vita's body still lying there, still practically warm from having been murdered by Alric. The body of Alric is still there. Rowena has sent word to all of the other, she's called them the college leaders. You're not quite sure what that means, but she kind of looks to you both and is like, oh, okay, well, they won't be long filing in now. How are you both? Jorvin, are you okay? Is all well?
Sorry, Rowena, it's been a lot on my mind, and this has been all very fast moving. I don't really understand how I feel.
Yes, well, unfortunately, there's not much time for that. We do what we can. Salryn, are you well?
I've been better.
Yes,
After
well,
Swifty gave me a damn good ass kicking, but I'm all right. Yeah, I'm okay.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Well, I might, but look, before the rest of them start to file in, there's going to be a lot of big personalities here. Some of them, everyone will have their own interests, their own machinations. It's important that we be true to the city, be true to people, be true to ourselves. Do what your heart tells you, but at the same time follow my lead, okay? Do you understand?
Yes, Rowena. I've always followed your lead.
And you've been the better for it.
No offense, but I don't really know you. So what am I, why am I following your lead? What's going on? What do I need to be ready for?
I'll put it shortly. We don't have much time. Basically, you now acting in place of that weasel, Tai Zhong, so-called Lord of Night and Day, he had a seat on this council. There's a council of people who represent various interests in the city, ranging from temples to merchants to engineers to the city watch to merchants, quartermasters, coin masters. All of these people are those that Vita has kept in check. The balance of power is ever shifting, but with Vita dead, the blood outside is one type of violence, but this is another. So, yes, you don't know me, but this is my battleground. If that means anything to you, then follow me. Jorvin can attest, I want nothing more than the good of this city, but we must be united to do that.
I respect that.
She's pretty good at what she does. Just watch.
And kind of at this point, people kind of start filing in, including one merchant lord, Kiani, what do people see as this merchant lord walks through the doors?
Everybody will be familiar with the sight of Kiani. They will have seen him at some point in the city. He likes to get about. He's very, very flamboyant, wears bright colours, and he is one of the very, very few very large gentlemen, very large and rotund, well-fed gentlemen who likes to wear very bright purples and likes to give the impression of nobility and sort of regality. This bald, piggish man walks his way in, trying his best to keep his shoulders back and his back straight, his big fat belly poking out in front of him. He strides in, very much acting as if he owns the place. And he turns to face Rowena, and he simply says,
"Good evening, Rowena. So, I take it that I'll be running this evening then, yes? Shall I take Vita's seat, perhaps?
Kenny, I believe you should take your own seat. We'll all take our own seats, and we'll see who is left to arrive, please. Let's not break the decorum.
You haven't even taken the roster yet. Oh, God, you're slipping, Rowena. God.
Oh, I'm afraid. And she kind of like gestures down to the wound in her side that's like, still a little bit bloody. Like, well, I've been a little bit preoccupied with the goings on in the city, if you haven't noticed, Kiani.
Excuses, but of course I'll take my seat if you need, Rowena. I appreciate these times can be challenging for your lot. So, yes, I'll take my seat.
At this point, kind of more and more kind of people are like filing in. No one quite as demanding of attention as Kiani, but a lot of them looking towards him for kind of guidance. Rowena kind of looks at you, Salryn, and beckons you into a seat. And after a little while, as the flow of people has kind of slowed down and there's a lot of like kind of murmuring and, clear kind of like factions and stuff are like meeting together and exchanging hushed whispers, she also points to an empty seat for you, Jorvin. Please, Jorvin, my lord, sit down.
You don't have to call me Lord, Rowena. However, I do quite like it.
And she kind of locks eyes with Kiani and says, "Now that everyone's here, now we maybe can discuss an agenda. Usually Vita would call to order these matters, but we might forgo that, seeing as she is currently indisposed."
I mean, very, very dramatic of you to leave the body on display for everybody. A little unhygienic, perhaps. Is there a reason that you haven't disposed of this yet, Rowena?
I think it's very important that we all understand the stakes of the situation that we're dealing with, Kiani.
Fine. What agenda do you suggest?
Well, I believe the first thing should be, what do we do, considering that our leader is dead?
I would have thought it was quite obvious what we are going to do. Surely...
Oh, pray tell.
Obviously, we surrender the city. We cannot possibly defend it. Our army will be returning in weeks, months. They will liberate us. We can live and endure it for a time, can we not?
At this point, she kind of looks to both Salryn and Jorvin, who have been actively fighting these people and insurgents.
Well,
so you just want to give up? That's your plan?
I'm sorry. Who are you?
I mean, apparently I'm Lordess of the Night and Day, or whatever that means.
There's been a lot of like messengers and stuff like in and out, and one of them had previously kind of come to her and handed her something, and she, as dramatically as she can in her wounded state, kind of slaps it onto the table and is like, "Yes, well, as you can see, the emblem of the Lord of Night and Day was found abandoned in Taizhong's quarters. His whereabouts unknown. Salryn here has been the one actively coordinating the defense of the city, and by all accounts is the reason why those of us who are alive are. So, I think it is only right that she take up this mantle, at least in an interim capacity. I think everyone can agree on that. We want someone who is experienced in this role. She was a member of the Vashik and Daya. She knows them. She knows how they fight. She knows how to defend a city.
And he turns and looks at Salryn and smiles, and then he looks back to Rowena.
Consolidating power, are we, Rowena? Salryn, was it? Please, continue. My apologies. I did not realize you had standing here. Tell me why we should stand and fight to the death against this monstrous horde that heads towards us, rather than simply handing over the city for a short period of time. By all means, off you go.
I get the impression that you didn't do much fighting yourself.
I did not. As a matter of fact, no. I'm not one for fighting, you see.
So you didn't do anything. You hid while all this was going on? Did you have a nice lavish home that you just chilled in while the city was burning and people were screaming and dying in the streets?
I ensured that the assets that provide work for the people in the city were protected to the best of my abilities, and that there wasn't a power vacuum by my sudden absence or death. I protected the city's interests by protecting myself. I think you must understand.
No, I don't understand that. You don't understand what we've just done. You weren't there. You haven't fought to save the city. So as far as I'm concerned, you don't have a say. And you definitely don't have a say in whether we give up or not.
Salryn, Lordess of Night and Day, may I just... I appreciate as much as anybody else the work you've done to protect the city. It means that when we surrender, we will have better terms. We have something to surrender rather than being conquered, and I appreciate that. Life under the warlords, it may be difficult in the short term, but ultimately, we'll adapt.
Adapt? You say adapt. You will adapt to life under the warlords. Do you even know what that means?
So, this is another one of your stooges, is it?
Stooges. You call yourself something like Chianti, but you're barely house wine. You and your lard ass covered in upholstery. From you I could create 2 sets of bath curtains.
Holy shit!
Quite the mouth on this one. Where did you drag this one from? Which alleyway or brothel did you find him in?
I believe he can introduce himself.
Well, pleased to make your acquaintance. I am Lord Jorvin de Ghast, unlike you, an actual noble, not just someone dancing around in what I could only describe as fine imitation of actual finery.
He really wasn't seeing that coming, and he's kind of scrambling a bit mentally. He's paused, trying to comport himself a little bit.
The Ghasts of Prem.
Oh, so you have heard of me, then? Yes, that's me.
I do apologize, my lord. I spoke quite out of turn, and I do hope you don't hold it against me. These are trying times, after all. You have experience living under the warlords, then, do you, Lord de Ghast?
Well, quite exactly first-hand experience. Prem was under warlord control before I left. And a particular, brand of warlord, the Mad Kabuta. You may have heard of him.
Yes, I am aware of him, yes.
These men will not accept your surrender, and you say that there is something for you to surrender afterwards. All there is needless death. At least we can die trying to stop it, rather than dying in vain, filled up with oil to see if you burn better. And you would burn particularly well, wouldn't you?
Again, I offer my apologies, Lord de Ghast.
And he looks at Rowena again.
I see you're playing the long game too. I underestimated you, Rowena. Very shrewd.
Yes, well, I wouldn't want to be caught lacking under your greedy eyes, would I? So I think surrender is out of the question. I think everyone agrees.
He looks around to left and right to those other guild members and college members in his faction, and he gives a begrudging nod of assent.
So, the matters then turn to defense of the city. Salryn, have you any thoughts?
Well, I think the Sun Shields are still trying to do their best to patch up the city, keep it controlled. Mangonels are being repaired. At least we're holding. But the Vashkanaya, we need them.
And what is the problem? I must admit, this is not my area of expertise, and I do not claim to know everything, with a pointed look at Kiani. What is the... You are close with the Vashkanaya. What is your read there? What is the issue?
Well, they answered to Vita, right? If they answer to her and she's dead, we don't know what they're going to do. And you do not want them... You don't want them not on your side.
Surely we can renegotiate a contract, yes? This seems like a natural thing for you to do. You can approach them, correct? Renegotiate the contract before any of this becomes a problem.
Yeah, I can try. Hopefully, I still have some sway, or... I mean, I know people, obviously.
Make a wisdom roll.
Oh, gosh. Rolling. That's the thing we have to do.
Yeah, it's not just an improv session.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. It's been a long time since I played D&D. Yes. Okay.
Yes, and. Yes, and. Yeah.
Oh, and this is a new dice as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't do me very well. 9.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable suggestion.
Okay, well then, if Salryn, if you can negotiate terms, but do we... The other matter is the blow to morale of the people with Vita's death. Do we... How do we announce it? Do we announce it? Is she kept in urgent meetings until such a time that we have a...
I think personally that we should announce it as soon as possible. The sooner everyone is aware that Vita is dead, the sooner we can be done with this.
You just don't have a single ounce of common sense in your brain,
The
do
sooner we can
you?
be done with this silly colleges thing. Listening to the likes of thieves and beggars. As though they're...
Do not have me remind you that those thieves and beggars know exactly where all your fine goods are stored.
What do you think, Rowena?
I think we have plenty of voices around the table. I think we should hear everyone out. I'm not trying to usurp this meeting.
Let's talk about this in terms of defense, then. Salryn, what do you think? Should we disclose Vita's death? When should we disclose it? Should we hide it? What are your thoughts?
I don't think we should say anything yet. The situation's already chaotic. I just think it'd be one more thing. Obviously, we tell people, but we just need to try and make sure that we have control of the situation. Talk to the Vashkanaya, see if we can get our defenses back up before we let this out. It's clearly a big deal.
Okay, so she is busy, occupied with administrative matters, we can delay for a time. I think that's reasonable.
He looks left and right to his faction and then looks across to Rowena.
I think that's the first wise thing you said all evening. There is also a lot of empty seats around us. If there are more forces coming, and let's be real here, we have not been prepared for anything. Resources and management are integral to the survival of us over the next hours, days. I would propose, thinking that is a conflict of interest for yourself, wouldn't you agree, to manage such a thing? That perhaps one of our newer members, a lord who has ruled, overseen a house, could perhaps step up and manage this crisis, be a treasurer and quartermaster in one.
And one from West Canton as well. You are a very shrewd woman. Very well played, Rowena. Very well played.
Is that me you're talking about? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
She nudges, hits you under the table.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes, I will take on this mantle. What am I doing, Rowena?
You're saying yes for the moment. Yes.
Yes, and we'll all be fine. Yes, good. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe it would be prudent if our first port of call would be to get an accurate inventory of all of the storehouses and granaries and food supplies that we have available to us. Don't you agree, my lord?
To giving you unfettered access to all of my assets.
Well, it's probably better than you eating them.
Very witty, my lord. Very witty indeed. Well, what option have I but to agree?
Well, I think that is as much of an emergency agenda as we need to cover, unless there's anything else.
I don't suppose anyone's going to tell me why the Medwin diplomat is dead on the floor in here? Or is that part of your scheming as well, Rowena?
The so-called diplomat was the one that killed our leader.
And a Medwin diplomat murdered Vita. Are we expecting an invasion from the south now?
Oh, he was also doing sort of blood magic as well, just in case anyone was wondering.
Or then that might not have been.
Oh, sorry. No, all is fine. All is fine in the city. Good.
Kiani shoots a glance over to some people in his faction. There's a group of people who are one in plain white robes and one in plain red robes. Shoots them a glance, and they look very, very shocked and confused. And then Kiani simply brushes that away with his hands, and he says,
One issue at a time. Once we've dealt with the Vashekanaya and Vita, and once we've dealt with the warlords, and once we've won all of these glorious victories with you at the helm, Rowena, then we can worry about why the Medwins are murdering our leaders.
I do not wish to be at the helm of everything. I just wish that we all survive.
Of course not, Rowena. Of course not. Thrust upon you it has been. Nobody else in the room could possibly have taken up that mantle.
And she kind of just looks at you, looks at him, and just piercing eyes, and just doesn't even rise to the challenge. Okay, well, I believe everyone has work to be doing. There are reports to be gathered, mercenaries to be discussed, resources to be allocated. Perhaps we adjourn for the moment and meet this evening, if that is acceptable for everyone, not to overstep my boundaries.
That's fine. It's been a very stressful morning. It's definitely needs some rest before we reconvene.
Yeah, why don't you go and have a long sleep and a big meal, and you'll feel much better.
Do you know what, Salryn? I think I will. Good day to you.
Just let me know what you're going to have so I can take it out of the inventory.
Very good, my lord.
As everyone kind of begins to disperse, we move back to the slums and the old ruined temple of Ai. And Hector and the various other barrel boys are, scrambling around. They've gotten some basic clothes for this man who has been named the Delicate Hammer. What is Swifty doing as he's walking these streets with this man?
He is, in no uncertain terms, with great boisterousness and enthusiasm, explaining to him how they won the battle for the city, and even as we speak, the more thinky, talky, righty lot who are, extremely focused on their ledgers and their, what's the word for it? It's leather with books, and their plans they're coming together as a community, as a city. We have been brought together by the shared hardship and difficulty, and they're sorting out all of the issues now. They are taking counsel, I believe, from the lowest to the highest, the beggars and the thieves alike, with the nobles and the champions, and we are... I'm sure I will be getting my invitation to the council very soon to hear my view on what we should do, but they fell before us like wheat before the scythe, and now there's a few lingering little pockets of enemies to clear up, but once that's done, victory will be ours. Victory will be mine. Ours. And then... a statue of me? Maybe. A lordship? No. I'd turn it down when they offer it. But it will be good to be offered. Anyway, yes, that fellow over there has no toes. Is there anything you can do about that?
I am glad that tidings are well.
Oh, honestly, one of the greatest days of my life.
It is strange that the air does not match this sensation for others. Perhaps once I have healed this man's toes, the air will change.
It's been a difficult night for many people, but what is adversity but the sister of victory?
Well put.
No, sorry. Brother. It's an important distinction. The sister of adversity is triumph, not victory. Pardon me.
I feel that I am learning so much from you.
I can tell.
Shall I begin?
Yes, I am...
Do you want to warn him, perhaps?
Yeah, you guys have just been kind of standing over me, saying weird things, and I don't really know what's going on. I'm just sitting here. Like, spare some coin?
Perhaps warning him would be best. Watch out! Now, Delicate Hammer, now!
What? What are you doing?
I'll hold him down!
What are you doing?
The Delicate Hammer's head jerks to the right, and his eyes flash with a violent light. And all of a sudden, there is a sort of vibration in the air, and you can feel grains of sand and bits of rocks rustle momentarily, and then... nothing.
What are you doing?
Do not resist!
After a few seconds, his toes knit and grow out of his foot.
Fuck! What are you doing? You could have fucking killed me!
Wow, no toenails. That's very strange. Will they grow back, Delicate Hammer, on their own?
I don't fucking care. What are you doing? You can't just go around trying to use healing magic on people. Are you fucking mad? You're losing it. Like, I had been survived so long without these toes. I also saw some frostbite. Look, the whole city's burning. You're going around just curing my toes when I don't need them, putting my life at risk.
You are welcome.
His eyes flash again, and this gentleman on the ground is thrown bodily against the wall and pinned against the wall.
Whoa!
His eyes flash, and he begins, "Insect! How dare you!"
Whoa! Hey, now, Hammer! Oh boy, but Delicate Hammer, my friend. Beggars can be a bit onery from time to time. He's had a difficult day of it, and we did just sort of grab him and regrow his toes, and as hilarious as that was, and we all know that a good deed plus hilarity equals heroism. But quite often people are rather upset when you non-consensually rescue them, as I have often discovered myself. So perhaps put the gentleman down?
Please put me down. Please put me down.
Delicate Hammer is looking really, really freaked out now. He releases this guy from the wall and looks a bit freaked out and turns to look at you. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I'm so very, very sorry.
Yes, sure, it's fine. Are you good? Little bit of you got walled, but now you're standing up. So all comes out in the wash.
I can heal if I have caused any harm.
He runs away. He just runs.
And now that's not unusual. Quite often when I rescue people, they flee. But got a bit of a temper on you. Hey, that's a lot of the kids.
I don't know where that. I'm sorry. My mind is still. And he looks despondent.
Listen. What we have the anger bucket, right? Now this is just water. We get water off the street, and when people are getting a bit angry, we just dump the bucket on them. I find it's very helpful. So just if that's a service you would like us to employ for you, I can tell some of the boys, get a bucket, or just take it easy. Hash hooms. That's what I try when people annoy me. Hash hoom. Hash hoom. You breathe in with the hashes and out with the hoom.
And this works for you. This hash hoom.
Well, apparently it's quite good for childbirth, but I've also found it works very well for calming yourself.
Hash hoom. Hash hoom.
Yes. Push. No, sorry, that's childbirth again. I was quite friendly with a woman whose main. It doesn't matter. So, well,
maybe we should try the water bucket too.
Yes. All right. One moment.
Yeah, I'll get you one. I'll get you one, Swifty. Here you go. Here, and Hector's like, who's kind of been hanging around, runs over, hands it to you.
So. Dump the water bucket at him.
If anything, I find myself more angry.
Yes, but now you're angry at me, and I can take it, you say. You can just slam me into the wall, all you're like, goodness knows the boys do quite often. The resentment brick, Hector, that's very handy.
I find it hard to be angry with you.
No.
You remind me of someone.
That is honestly the first time anyone has ever said that to me. I appreciate it.
Peculiar. You seem like a very fine gentleman.
And noticeably, standing over straight up, gives him a little light tap on the shoulder. So do you, Delicate Hammer. Well,
I'm sorry to have spoiled this moment.
It's, Hector, what do we do when we get the grumpies?
We push them right down and we force ourselves to smile. It doesn't matter how hard it is or how much it hurts. We just,
And then later on, when we're committing the various acts of terrible violence upon those who have earned it, we picture in our heads those who have irritated us.
Yeah. And then what's real important is you clean the blood off your knuckles after you've punched the wall.
Yes.
That's real good. Keep that real nice and clean, and then wrap it up well.
Oh, and the blood off the wall as well.
Yeah.
That's
No,
an
you
important
do always say
second
that.
step, yes.
I'm not as big a fan of that, but
I am aware.
Yeah,
I am aware. And that's something we will have a discussion about later.
So I should strike a wall. Will this aid?
Well, if it's a choice between using your terrifying magical powers against a beggar or an inanimate wall, I mean, ideally, you don't do either. But if it's one or the other, lesser of two evils.
Where are we right now? Where have you taken us, Jack?
Oh, just some random street in the slums, I was probably literally having this conversation in the middle of the street. Like, no concern. This guy's good, which means he is good. So, it's fine. Like, that is the way Swifty's morality works, so it's all good,
He turns and looks at a wall, extends his hand. The wall literally just disintegrates. That does feel better.
We should go to a richer neighborhood.
You see, Hector waves at the families in there. He's like, "Oh, sorry, lads.
Somebody with literally got a spoon in the mouth.
Don't tell anyone how I live."
So, run, Hector! We'll find a way to put it right later, but for now, we have to avoid the guard.
We go back to Salryn and Jorvin in the now emptying meeting room of Vita's office. Rowena calls you over, Salryn. Oh, this, I believe, it is yours. I wear it with pride, and she gives you the emblem, this really intricately and finely detailed half sun, half moon emblem that's worn, symbolize the Lordess of night and day.
I was just kind of saying that to get on that guy's nerves. Are you sure?
Look around, all those people there, none of them, yes, they're all talented in their own ways. We have great engineers, great traders, people of immense knowledge of faith, but none that know how to defend a city. You're our best shot.
Thank you. This means a lot. And I will do my absolute best.
It does mean a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Okay. I have a job to do.
Yeah, you do. Shit's real.
What do I do first?
That I can't tell you. That's up to you, but defense of the city, I talk to the Vashtikanaya, see what their story is, talk to your troops. They're yours. They're your people now. They'll look to you. That symbol means you can't hide.
Yeah. All right. Vashkanaya.
Please mark down on your sheet that you have the emblem of night and day. This gives you advantage in all charisma-based rolls.
Do we finally have a face?
Oh.
Yes. Forced upon you by the DM. Salryn, you leave. It's just you and her, Jorvin. And she looks around the room, and in this room, there's light has just come back into it, and everything's been a flurry, but you've kind of been able to get a good view and feel of the room now that, daylight is beginning to come through the windows as dawn is rising fully. And on a plaque in a glass case behind her desk is a rather wicked and fearsome looking unwieldy maul something that looks completely ceremonial, but has like a faint kind of like emanation of like, this is real nasty. There will probably be some resistance from Kiani on how things are going to be distributed. I don't know how much experience you have with ruling, Jorvin, but sometimes you use the tools that you have. And she goes over, she takes this, and she kind of like asks you for help, as it's like really heavy and like unwieldy. Fear is a tool, and there is a man that we are all familiar with that can be used in our favor as a means of control. And if he were to wield this, well, people might ask even less questions than they usually do of him.
Oh. Maybe we could give him a sort of actual role, like defender of the people. He'd like that.
You know him better than I. He is someone has been... He's known to us. He was at least somewhat known to Vita, from what I understand. Perhaps you can give this to him, bestow upon him a title as your new role here in the city.
I'm work already. Well,
I'm sorry, and she kind of gives you like a playful nudge.
Okay, Rowena. Well, if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be doing this. So let's find Mr. Swift and make him a man of the people.
An excellent choice, my lord. But first, I think there's perhaps one thing that is important. You're openly a lord now. You have a station. You have responsibility. I think you should dress the part. I believe we can call on Vita's personal tailor to have you fitted some nice clothes, if that would help.
Rowena, you're about to make me the happiest man in this city. Of course. I thought you would never ask. I do.
And she brings you to like another wing of the of this governmental palace, this old palatial building. You get fitted into nice clothes, and because your clothes fit so well and you feel so comfortable in them, you can increase your dexterity by 2.
Amazing. Clothes do make of the man.
Clothes make it the man.